Okay. Uh, let's do it. So I have a pleasure of again standing in front of you all and delivering yet another talk, and yet another one from front-enders perspective. So again, you'll see me struggling through topic, hopefully with a success in delivering something of value to you while you eat your pizzas. So have a nice pizza and don't let me interrupt you. Um, let's do it. So what I'm gonna try to speak around about today is continuous integration and delivery for front-end applications. And a little bird told me, "Hey, Michał, maybe you could make a presentation for front-enders about CI/CD, and let's make it during pizza. Why not?" So thanks, little bird. I'll try to do that. So let's start from that. As a curious developer preparing for other developers, I started searching and learning a bit about CI/CD. So I figured out that let's start from the beginnings and the definitions. Because spoiler alert, for me, this topic is also a little bit vague. And whenever I hear CI/CD, it's like together CI with CD, um, and then there is a DevOps, and I was not sure around this topic for quite some time, and quite some time ago, also I started calling myself a kind of a full stack. So I needed to know a little bit about CI/CD, as I thought it is, and this presentation is my effort of going quite a little bit deeper into this topic and showing you what I found. So join me on this quest. Let's start. CI, so it's continuous integration. So I provided you, while I was searching, three definitions that can maybe triangulate for us the definition of what continuous integration might be. And it is a practice. It is somewhat automated practice of or around the developer cycle or development cycle as a way to introduce changes to the code base. So continuous integration, continuous meaning that it's happening all the time, and integration meaning that all our small changes are added to the code base. As you see from Amazon Web Services definition, it involves DevOps and software management. It is a software management practice. There's something about merging changes to central repository in an automated fashion, and the same goes from Atlassian. They mention automation within this process. We'll try to get a grasp on this a little bit later on, but let's focus now on continuous delivery or deployment. I saw those two definitions. Sometimes it's delivery, sometimes it's deployment. I think if we go deep and deep and deeper into the definitions and the realm of CI/CD, you'll see a CD acronym being torn apart, and there is something to say about delivery and something separate to say about deployment. But as a one thing, we can also look at three approaches, three definitions. One from Amazon Web Services that says that it's a delivery of software. It's a practice. It's automatically releasing something to production. So it already shows us a little bit less about the code, a little bit more about the way or the process. Continuous delivery is an approach where teams release quality products frequently. There is lots of that speech, like catchy words, predictably and in an automated fashion, again from Atlassian. And last but not least, continuous delivery as Wikipedia sees it. Mind the last part, without doing so manually. So I imagine that continuous delivery is also a process of doing something, but strongly not manually, as continuous integration strongly emphasized that it should not be done manually, but via automation. Okay, so the goal of CI and or CD would be to automate process of release or releasing software, finding and addressing bugs quicker in our applications, and improving overall software quality, reducing the time to validate and release increments in the app, and deploying the software to production or production-like environments, and automating the whole effort, like to speed things up, but also to avoid human error. And there was lots of other exotic words that showed up while I was researching this topic and tried to understand it more. They are not that exotic, but it seems that these words mean something different when it relates to CI/CD context. So there was words like pipeline, actions, deployment, workflow, event, runners, preview, or job, and all of those mean something. What I realized while I was researching that is that actually it is a separate thing in it on its own. So uh, if you have different definitions or you have definitions for something within your realm, then I guess you're a thing. Say front enders and back enders and DevOps. So what I learned here is that yeah, there is a place for DevOps definitely. And for example, pipeline is a series of stages that follow one another in an infinite loop. What that's quite obvious, but the steps are meant precisely. So it's code, build, test, release, deploy, monitor, and plan. And then this pipeline can be looped. So you go in an infinite loop through them. And those steps may include tasks related to end-to-end testing, code compilation or transpilation, code quality check, environment build, and so on and so forth regarding the CI/CD context. Another interesting one was preview. So preview or deployment preview is a deployed version of the app containing new changes being introduced, so you can run this preview in your CI/CD pipeline. It can contain its own database, so it's a version of the app running, for example, on a separate database. And I witnessed projects where that was actually the thing, and other projects that we were everywhere on the same environment. So testing environment was also used on local machines, and then we had a production that we did not have access to. So that's one approach, and another approach is to have like grind it to the singular instance. Each preview can have its own database, but I actually did not meet that approach. But in principle, we can have it. And third one, I guess, I haven't posted it here, is a feature flag. This one is also important within the realm of definitions. So feature flag is a variable or other solution, usually an environment variable, or a toggle in the app somewhere in the settings for super user, admin, developer access that you can turn on or turn off a feature. So it's a solution to enable software teams to manage and control the release of product in a more flexible and controlled manner. There are various standard approaches on how to do CI/CD. Should we release continually, gradually developing and releasing features, doing them behind the scenes so that users are not that aware that something is changed until they see the change. But let's try and understand more what's going on. I found these interesting pictures over the internet. And in the presentation, you'll have all these links and even the sources for the pictures. Where are they from? All these articles are quite interesting and comprehensive. And Some of them are quite deep within the DevOps responsibility in CI/CD, but remember, I'm speaking from a front-ender perspective. So for me, it's all shallow, and I'm trying to figure out how far do I need to go to understand it before it's too far for me, before I have to call myself something else or embark on a journey of acquiring such a knowledge. So this is a flow of continuous integration. So we have a developer who is committing stuff to source control. This is not then built, tested, test is being reported, and then we go to release or not, or we can be in the loop of introducing corrections to bugs and then building and testing again. And front enders know for sure, I guess not only us, but all of us developers, uh, and I include testers in the word developer, that this process can be done by hand or done automatically. And everywhere I saw, everything emphasizes that this should not be run by hand. This should be as automated as possible. And that's where the CI/CD shines. Okay, so we have that. Imagine that all of those are automated somehow, and we will see an example of that later on. We can then go to another place uh, and another image for continuous delivery. And here we have develop, build, automated test, automated deploy, and automated control release. Yet another article, yet another image, and that is what was confusing to me at the beginning when I started this exploration of CI/CD, not for this presentation, but way back in the days. It seems like these two are basically the same thing, or at least at first glance, but they are actually not. The CI is about adding increments, or at least that's how I understand it. And CD is more about delivering things and automating it so that it is done properly. So delivering the thing and integrating into the source, into the version of the app, releasing proper versions. So this is first, and then this is the second one. But it didn't stop me from searching for other interesting images, and I found those. And this is digging deeper into the topic, right? So deeper, I went. Definitions and articles were weirder, more in depth. And it seems that this topic can be very deep, as I mentioned at the beginning. So continuous integration is something that we start from, integrating our new changes to the monorepo or whatever we have, then delivering it in preferably continuous way, and then deploying it also continuously. So you see the separation here between delivery and development. Sorry, deployment. Well, actually, we could call this development, I guess, and we would have CD, CD, CD. Okay. And one more thing before we go any deeper. This whole circular thing is because we are doing agile, not waterfall. Because imagine if we would do waterfall, we would just do it once at the end, just release. And we are not doing waterfall, hopefully. We are doing agile, and all those craziness is actually being born from the agile development and agile approach, Scrummy-ish or Kanban-ish resolution for continuous delivery. That is why these loops appear, and it actually makes the whole process very tightly coupled with CI and CD. So, seeing all those circles made me wonder what would happen if I type into the ChatGPT something like that. And let me try and show you what I've managed to generate. I actually will show you my screen. This is as I short break in what we are discussing. So since it is a pizza talk, let's see what the GPT meant and Dali tried to figure out. This is a developer. I'm not sure why, but developer is with a blouse and sometimes with shorts and with glasses on. And when I typed in programmer, it didn't have clothing. It just had I'm not sure why that. So I tried to imagine a situation where a developer is running this continuous vicious cycle and powering all the technocrats, and this is what it figured. So I hope uh, it's a yeah. Anyway, that's that. Um, so to get back to the topic at hand, maybe let's make it bigger. Um, let's sum it up and try and figure out what we can understand from all these craziness. So there are some catchphrases that I found along the way, scanning articles and trying to figure out what's what, and some statements that captured my attention. So let's try and get through them. So the catchphrases would be real time, collaborative feedback, effective web development workflow, shipping great software quickly. This is like marketing thing, I guess, but it does stick. Prioritizing infrastructure that removes tech debt. So it is actually possible to scan the app for a code smells. So it is true. Uh, Easy to get new employees up to speed. This is also true if this is set up properly. But if you have like a way weird CI/CD workflow, then it will not get them easily up to speed. It can go wrong. That's what I mean. And the statements that captured my attention are also interesting, especially the last one. The way your team builds software matters. Yeah, it does. The developer experience at your organization directly impacts the bottom line, whatever it means, it is. Set strong standards for your languages and frameworks early on. And this is important. And you can actually do that not only by catching code smells, but also by checking like ESLint or prettier things. You can make your CI/CD to do these checks and report back to you before you merge your commits. So that is interesting. CI/CD enables you to deliver value to your users continuously. It does. For both commits and deployments, small code changes are easier to maintain, and that's true always, I think. And to ensure that you're only delivering high quality code, it is good practice not to deploy directly to production. That is something that I would have to, I think I print on the t-shirt. So in general, if I sum up all the current part of the presentation, it would be something around that. I have like 4 points on my mind. A CI/CD pipeline helps developers make code changes as early and as often as possible. So that should be quite obvious. You see a bug, you correct it, you deliver it. You have a hotfix running. That's nice. It increases productivity, meaning that deploying more often means you can deliver new features and bug fixes to user faster, which will lead to higher customer satisfaction. You can also speed up your time to market and increase ROI. So it's also a business thing to have CI/CD properly set up. And pipelines will help you catch bugs early on. That's actually what I mentioned before. And we want to deploy frequently, but also don't want to frequently deliver bugs. So it's not only about being speed. Sorry, it's not about being fast, but it's about being fast and efficient. So it should be set up in a manner that it will reduce the risk of doing any faulty deployments. and it should allow us to fix problems early. And I don't mean the bugs themselves, but uh, there can be other problems that we can face. For example, migrating to another version of a library that we use. So it should be able to revert changes to go back to fall back to other states of the app that were stable, and preferably catch these problems before we deliver, so we don't have to roll back. And obviously, as with all of these stuff nowadays, there is a solution for that, and there's lots of those solutions. These are not all of them, and you can always do it by hand. So it's like automated by doing a bunch of scripts, which I did not do and probably won't unless I become DevOps someday in the future. I do not mention here Docker, for example, and there is lots of other things. What I noticed is only AWS did not brag about them being fast building kind of sexy software, but all of them did in a way. So I decided to post those catchy phrases for each of them here for all to see. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is I'm gonna try to show you what GitHub Actions actually allows us to do. So there will be a tangible part of this presentation, but with a sad ending. Anyway, uh, it seems complex, and it is. So I no longer wonder why we have dedicated people being DevOpses. Um, okay, so I've went too far. Okay, so demo time. Let me show you what I have. Um, uh, 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 uh. Let me copy it. Okay. Okay, for all of you, and probably all of you have access to Amsterdam Standard GitHub, you will see a learning GH actions repository in out there on the GitHub. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a simple app that's built using Vite. It's like straight from the box, just counting things. That's it. That's all that it does. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to make a CI/CD pipeline from zero to hero, and make all the fancy stuff that front-enders would want to have possible here. And creating the presentation, researching this material, and doing all of that stuff took me way less time than building this setup. And I realized that actually GitHub Actions is one of the simplest ways how you can do that. So that's the sad ending to this story, that I didn't manage to build it on time, but I intend to. But I'll tell you about it later on. So let's see what we have here actually. When I go into the project folder, we see a GitHub. Yeah, GitHub catalog, and here you see workflows. So there are three distinct files. It's a YAML, and these YAML files contain something. It's a description for a workflow of a CI/CD pipeline, or a CI/CD workflow script that we will be able to run on the GitHub. And these can be run either pointing to some event, or they can be run manually. So I have the script here that will say something like hello inputs name. Uh, Somehow it's just it should be like that. Hello inputs name, and inputs name is actually stored within the YAML file. It's world as a default, and the inputs name will be provided by a user as a string, and it is required. So you can build those pipelines, those workflows in automation or to be called by hand from within the repository. I will show you in a moment how. So that's two of them. And the third one is a CI/CD, which is an attempt of doing the whole thing proper way. And what I mean by the whole thing is I want to uh, install dependencies. Um, I want to upload coverage reports to CodeCo, and there's actually a trial account being created, and we could, in principle, upload them, but I didn't manage to do that. But it is there. So we can test our code and upload the generated coverage to a tool that analyzes that. Make a build out of our application and deploy it. And I wanted to deploy it to GitHub pages. So, and also actions, deploy, access token, all of that is set up. This just has some hiccup that I cannot understand. And sorry, I don't have it. But this all is actually run on a push on branch main or pull request for branch main. So we can set it up in quite nice ways. Documentation states a lot of ways how can we automate that. We can make it manual like this one. So this is just a manual. Or the first one that I showed you, the blank one, also is run on branch main push and on pull request to branch main. And this one actually is just echoing hello world. So whatever we do with our repository, whether it's push, pull request, or we can manually trigger, some of these workflows will be run. So let's see where are they stored. In GitHub, Learning GitHub Actions repository, you can go to Actions, and in here you will see these four actually, because one of them was added by integrating GitHub pages. So these three are the ones that I've created in my editor. You see CI, manual workflow, and Node.js CI/CD workflow. Those are names that I provided here. So CI, manual workflow, and Node.js CI/CD workflow. And some of them run with a success, some of them don't. And as you can probably see, you can click on a bunch of them and see the result. So here we see that the job is completed, and we do not see anything in particular, anything else. But let's say manual workflow. We can see, we can add. How can that be a thing? View workflow file. I'm not logged in. Okay. That's the problem. Just a second. What's going on? Ah. Okay. What I wanted to show you is that you can run the workflow just by clicking here. And you see this shows us a window of sorts, a pop-up to provide something, a person to greet, obviously, and run the workflow. And this is what is stated here on the manual build. So we can parameterize this for example, personal manual, or we can use a lot of variables in various places during the build in an automation tool as well. So for example, matrix node version, you can provide various node versions to automate the build for various node versions of your app. And as we can see, manual workflow did not complete. Yep. something was wrong. Probably, yeah. Yeah, this is not ended properly. So that's basically what I wanted to show you. We can also check the CI/CD workflow. We can see that there is also a job completed, a build for version 18, and a set of those uh, that we see what was happening when they are run. We can see them pending, and yeah, we can have an idea of what's going on when exactly. Uh, if you provide correct namings, you will see those two here, so it will be easier to debug what's going on. Um, but that's basically what I have for you to see. Not to make it too long, because I think I depleted my time already. So in conclusion, CI/CD is something we cannot ignore nowadays. Everyone uses it in some manner. As front-enders, we should know something about it so we can be able to automate things either for clients or for our internal or home projects. If you want to dig really deep into this, prepare for a lot of computer science and weird stuff that you'll have to know from now on. And huge kudos to all the DevOps that are there for the nastiness that they deal with every day. And thank you all for attention. Stay tuned for some follow-up, as I like the effort put into this, and I would very much like to see more of this knowledge, and maybe deliver some kind of article or another presentation that would be more in depth, and I could actually deliver a working example. But you're free to go to the repo and try and maybe correct me on what I did wrong, and maybe collaborate, do it something together. I just invite you to let's do crazy stuff. Thank you, guys and girls, for this attention of yours, and I hope your pizza was good.